So we have this moment in time where we are not tenants in this project anymore. We are really architects. And what are we going to do as a group to build the ecosystem and move that ecosystem forward?
You're listening to the CFL podcast, where possibility is at work. Here, we explore what it means to empower learners, connect communities, create impact, and help Nevada thrive. Each episode shares stories and ideas from the people reimagining what learning can look like in our community and beyond. Because when we learn, build, and dream together, anything is possible.
Welcome, everybody, to the Ian Center for the Future of Learning's podcast. I'm really excited to be joined here today with Lauri Perdue, a real community expert and leader in her field. And we're going to be talking a little bit about how CFL is trying to reimagine learning to position Nevada as a global hub for learning innovation and set up our students to thrive today and tomorrow. To start us off, Lauri, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Lauri, can you share a little bit about your journey? What brought you to where you are today? What drives your passion for making sure that learners succeed?
So I ended up at the University of Phoenix on accident. So I graduated from college, followed my college sweetheart who became my husband to Buffalo, New York, where he played football. And in the off season, I needed a job. And so I went to the temp agency down the road and ended up at the University of Phoenix as a temp. Had no idea what this place was, and I'm going to date myself, but this was late 90s. So online education was a strange concept, unlike today. And I remember showing up going, all right, they need me for a couple weeks. This will be great. I'll do my job at this higher education institution that I really don't understand. And they had me doing data entry. So I didn't get to meet any students. I didn't get to meet any faculty. And they extended my time there. And I ended up at the front desk. And that's where I saw students coming in and meeting with enrollment counselors. I met faculty coming in to teach courses. And the concept came together for me as I watched it unfold every day and saw these adult learners coming back to college after life happened. And so I fell into higher ed, ended up staying at University of Phoenix for 12 years, and left, went to another school group that primarily worked with high school age students. And then I've come back to the University of Phoenix for the last 6 years, and in a different capacity where I had more impact on the community in that role than I did before. So that's what led me into my leadership roles with the LVGEA, with serving our kids. Kind of all those things unfolded when I came back 6 years ago.
I'm really excited to get into this and your journey, but one thing that just made me think of is I remember growing up and hearing about University of Phoenix. And in a lot of ways, it was at the cutting edge of what was possible given the digital revolution that was going on. And there were a lot of people in the community that doubted it or were like not singing its praises because they were trying to protect the existing system as it already was. And it's just so interesting hearing you tell that story about how it was developing and being there to see what was happening. What was that like? Was it like, oh my God, we're doing online education, digital education, we're meeting people where they're at, and nobody was really thinking about that back then, or few people were.
Yeah, I mean, email was new.
Yeah.
So that was my first email address I ever had, was my job at the University of Phoenix. And I think primarily we used it to send jokes to each other more than actually work.
The original memes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But when I think back to those times, what really I remember is meeting people and students and hearing their stories. And I would hear these stories of 30, 40-year-old people who, started at UNLV or started at CSN and life got in the way and they dropped out and it's been hanging over their head forever. They've always wanted to finish. And either they had a friend who came to University of Phoenix and told them about it, or their employer was paying their tuition. So our students come to us in very non-traditional ways. And that's what I remember the most is our founder created University of Phoenix for first responders, people in jobs that did not have the ability to go to the traditional college setting. And it started with the police department in California, and out of a garage, the same story. And when it grew and grew and grew, we found that there was this group of working adults who needed another opportunity. They couldn't necessarily drive to Flamingo and Maryland Parkway on a Tuesday afternoon for a course. And it fit this niche we didn't even know we needed. And what a better town than Las Vegas, where we have shift work, where we have so many people who need to grow from maybe that frontline role into a management role.
Upskilling.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was really fun to watch. When I showed up, we had 250 students here locally. When I left, we had 4,500.
Wow.
So I saw great growth. I met great students, and our faculty were also practitioner faculty, so they worked full time in whatever they were teaching and would come to us at night and teach the students. So that was a different model as well. And I think one of my favorite things, because I was also a student inside of my journey, was learning about all the different areas of Las Vegas and companies that were here, because those were my fellow classmates. And I never had that opportunity in traditional higher ed. So that was a really good learning opportunity.
That's fascinating, because it's both through that story you can track like real innovation in the education space, in the higher education space, that met the changing world. The world was changing so rapidly, new technology becomes available. All of a sudden you have a new player in the market, University of Phoenix, delivering on a need that really existed in the community, but we just maybe didn't have the tools to do that. And you're also getting out of the existing system of like a campus-based learning opportunity and into the community, like really into the jobs, the careers, the workforce that exists in this community. And it's like meeting your neighbors who are doing the work. That's really cool.
Yep.
So
there's a long line of University of Phoenix alumni that you wouldn't believe in this city that are in leadership roles. It's really interesting to dig in and see. We've got almost 30,000 alumni in the market, and it's been a really fun story to watch unfold here.
So your day job is working at the University of Phoenix. You're
Yes.
also the chairwoman of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance.
Yes.
What is this moment as you're looking around in your day job and your involvement in the community and on serving our kids board? Like, what does this moment in time mean for you?
It is a moment of rebuilding. And being with LVGEA for 6 years, I came into that organization as a board member, had no idea what it was, didn't understand economic development. I think I slept through that class in college, and really had to get tutored. So I used the leaders and other board members over the course of a few years to say, hey, before a board meeting, will you tutor me on the agenda? Like, what do I need to know? What are these things? I bought a lot of people coffee in those first few years, and was fortunate enough to be asked to be on the executive committee. And I know that we're in a nice, nice moment here where I can tell all my secrets, but they asked me to be the head of the bylaws committee. Fun fact, I didn't even know what bylaws were.
Look, Lauri, from what I'm learning already, you're a lifelong learner, so I already know you're going to figure it out. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm like, I want to be on the executive committee, and I want to know how this works, so I will figure out bylaws.
Yeah.
And I did, thankfully, with the help of a lot of friends. And so the interesting part of LVGEA now is we have a brand new CEO. It is the first CEO that we have hired from outside the market, and with the level of experience that Danielle Casey brings to the role. That is exciting in itself, because we have struggled over the last few years of what is this organization supposed to be? What is our mission? What is our focus? And we'd veer off to the left and we'd veer off to the right. And we really needed to find somebody who could bring this organization to its roots and drive it as an expert and pull us along and help elevate that board. So thrilled for that moment. But along with that, in our community, we have a brand new chancellor of the Nevada System of Higher Education. We have a brand new Clark County School District superintendent. We have a new CSN president. We have a new UNLV president. We have a new Nevada State president. So from a workforce...
And a new state superintendent of education.
Yes,
Everybody, yes.
So we have this moment in time where we are not tenants in this project anymore. We are really architects. And what are we going to do as a group to build the ecosystem and move that ecosystem forward? I hear a lot in our community when we go to these events, whether it's a chamber event or a NAOP event, we talk about the same things a lot. And over the course of the last 6 years, I can say that I've had probably hundreds of conversations of our workforce development's not where it's supposed to be. Our school district isn't where it's supposed to be. we do a great job of talking about our problems. What we don't do a good job of is really digging in as an ecosystem and creating solutions, number one. And number two, we aren't talking about what's going right.
I couldn't agree more. So we're going to get there. Let's talk about what's going right, because I feel like that's going to be essential to solving the issues that we have if we can build on what's working. But before we get there, can you take a little bit to tell us a little bit more about, like, what does workforce readiness look like for you? What does it look like to have a diversified economy that is thriving in our market? How do we make sure that we are preparing the workforce of the future and the workforce of today? Like, what does that mean to Lauri Perdue?
The word ecosystem was something I learned from our past Nevada state president, and that was Dr. Pollard. And she brought that term to the LVGEA, and it really made me think. We often put our workforce readiness developers in silos. You're the school district, go figure it out. You're the higher ed system, go figure it out. But it is not their job to know everything that's happening in the world. We really need to bring those employers to the table and say, what are you looking for? What do you need? And not what do you need today? What do you need 5 years from now? Are the programs that we're offering matching the talent that you need? And are we speaking the same language? So that's the other thing. Does higher ed speak the same language as the work or the employers so that we can translate, yes, we have the right talent development happening to meet the skills that you need in the workplace? So what does workforce readiness look like if I am a student or a emerging talent? Let's call it that. If I'm emerging talent, what does that look like? It looks like I have transparency to what I learned. I have the ability to talk to an employer and tell them what my skill set is. And I know that sounds very elementary, but you would be shocked to know how many adult students that we interact with every day who have been in the workforce for 10 years. And if I said, put your resume together and highlight your skills, crickets.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they don't apply for more jobs or new jobs or level up just because they don't know how to capture what they know how to do on a resume.
That's fascinating, because I think about I think most people listening probably have experience in the K-12 system, and many people in a college or a traditional or untraditional higher ed system. But in the K-12 system, at least in high school, think about, like, you're a student, you're going to a class, the bell rings, you go to the next class, you have 45-minute windows, maybe an hour and a half window, and at the end of the year, you get a letter grade, A through F. Sometimes you get other feedback, but that's really what you get. So if you ask a high school student, like, what are your skills? We're actually giving them a tool that doesn't align to answering that question.
No.
They're going to be able to say, my skills, I got a B in English too. Like, wait a second. That is not a skill.
Right.
So, like, what skills are you developing in that English classroom, in that math classroom, in those core academics and outside of core academics? And how are we actually preparing young people to package that up as part of their personal resume and take it to higher ed, take it to a lifelong learning experience with the University of Phoenix or others, to be able to say, like, these are my skills, these are my transferable skills, this is what I've learned, and this is how it's going to get me my next job, which I love the way you think about that. And it can't just be one of those things. It has to be all of them. It has to be workforce. It has to be college. It has to be K-12. It has to be all of us.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how we do that is the real question, how we're already doing it.
As you describe that from the K-12 perspective, I just want to share one example. So I have 5 children. 4 of them are in their 20s already. So they're going through that. I have to get it, some of them went to college, some of them didn't. How do I go get a job? What am I going to be good at? And oftentimes they would come to me, or their friends would come to me and say, is there a test I can take that says I can be good at this and that's what I should go do with my life? So that often would lead to Lauri Perdue becoming this informal mentor of, okay, let me show you what your resources are.
How do I sign up for that mentorship?
Yeah.
I would like that.
I'm taking clients anytime you want. You just got to buy me coffee. Yeah. But I had one young gal, sweet as can be, great student, didn't have a very strong family structure. And all she knew was when she graduated high school, she's going to have to pay rent. Got to pay rent. So she started working at a fast food restaurant. And once basketball season was over, because that was the one fun thing she got to do as a teenager, then she's like, shoot, I'm going to have to pay rent. I got to go get another fast food job. And as I was watching her, I was like, you could go get one job that would take care of both of those, what you're making here.
Yeah.
And I knew her family situation. She's Spanish speaking, so she's bilingual. I work very closely with some organizations in town. I'm like, you could go get a job at this organization as a bilingual customer service representative, making $22 an hour the day you graduate high school. Oh, and they pay for college. And it's just we don't have a structure today that can help those young people understand how to do that. How do I find those roles? How do I get that job? And one of the things the University of Phoenix has done recently, and it'll tie back to Nevada in one moment, is about 5 years ago, we surveyed students and employers and basically said, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What do you need? Students said, I loved my experience. I learned so much. But I'm working at the Marriott front desk. I went and got an IT degree, and I still don't know how to break into IT, and I don't know what kind of job I'm qualified to do. So they didn't understand what skills they had. They didn't understand how to translate that into the workforce.
And applying for a job is a full-time job.
Yes.
So imagine you're having that job, you're working at that front desk, you're going to class, you're taking all that time to learn, and then you have to get to the next phase. Sorry for interrupting you, but I'm just trying to empathize with this person at the front desk, how difficult it is, because some of us will be like, okay, just go to apply for another job. It is not easy.
No. Yeah. And your resume's got to fit a certain model, and it's got to get through an ATS system. So when we went to the employers, their need was talent. I need talent today. I can't wait for them to walk across the stage, have a piece of paper, and come apply. I need them to have these 10 skills, and then if they want to keep going to college, great. Heck, some employers even support that and pay for that, but we need talent today. So I look at it as we close the loop at the University of Phoenix between this side of the ecosystem and this side. And what we did is we redesigned every single course we offer to be aligned to skills. So when a student takes a class, they're introduced, taught, and assessed on 3 new skills in every course. So you take 6 skills, Sean, you log into your University of Phoenix portal and it says, hey, you have 18 new skills in your skills inventory. Do you want to look at them? Hey, Sean, have you looked at what jobs you're eligible to apply for with your skills? And then that tracks them over to the Job Explorer where they can start exploring, for that term, what job can they do next? So what it is it's building transparency, it's creating a narrative for them so that they understand what they're learning, and the kicker is they're building their confidence. And that was the missing link. So on the other side of it, we built a platform called the Talent Sourcing Tool. I work with employers across the country and give them access to this tool. They put their jobs into our Talent Sourcing Tool. Super simple, takes them less than 5 minutes to put it in there. AI scrapes it for skills, and then we use this skills taxonomy to create matches between our students and the employer based on the skills that they're looking for. So then next time Sean goes into his portal, he's going to see on the Career Navigator, hey, Sean, you're a talent match to this job. Do you want to look at it? And then we drive that candidate right to the employer's website to apply.
Wow.
It is amazing, and we are having great results with it. We built it in-house, and it is one of those things where it's like the Match.com of jobs. And to your point, getting a job is a full-time job. We want to make this easier for the employer and the student. So my goal in Utopia is if Citibank or whatever our employer is sees a University of Phoenix applicant, they can say, set up an interview. I already have so much confidence that they have the skills I need. I don't need them to do a 10-page application. Just get an interview with them. So that's my utopia, is that we can erase resumes and just build these skills taxonomies and these skills languages that we all speak, so we have more people applying and more people getting into the seats they need to be.
I love that as an example. First of all, I just commend you and your team for being able to bring that to life, because it is a hard task to be able to match something that matches young people or adults with the jobs and figuring out. I like this word taxonomy. I was a biology teacher, and it's like the classification and ordering system. You need some order to this to be able to say, like, this skill matches this opening or this skill matches this need at a company. And I just love the way that you described the system that you built to do that. And I think about, here in Nevada, for those of you who've been following along, we have the Nevada Portrait of a Learner, which is actually trying to do exactly this in the K-12 system, which is infuse skills and competencies into our academics so that young people feel like they are building skills that are relevant and transferable for the future. Because we need strong arithmetic, we need strong writing, we need strong reading skills. Those are essential. And you talk to employers and the World Economic Forum and everybody, and they're saying those skills are important. They don't even they don't even get into the top 10 of important skills that we're hiring for right now. We need people with critical thinking skills. We need people who can do these things. Writing skills are actually very important, but also just analysis skills, teamwork skills. They need people who can get along with people, customer service skills, human skills. And so how are we making sure that young people in our K-12 system are learning that? And you're trying to figure out how your people in your system are getting skills, and not just getting the skills, but being able to translate those skills to real life. Plus, when you go sign up for a job these days and you upload your resume, you still have to go type it like 100 times into a portal.
Yes.
So it's kind of a useless tool. It's like, oh, here's my resume, and by the way, I have to go do all this extra work, and you're doing that for them.
And the skills that we pick or we work with are not words. So normal applicant tracking systems that an employer uses, they are only looking for words on your resume. We are actually able to give them a skills match that is the defined skill that is attached to different things they're going to do in that job. So it's not a word. It really is a deeper meaning than that.
I love that. Okay, so like now take your hat, think about Nevada.
Yes.
Like what if you could wave a magic wand and fix every gap between employers and education, the education system? What would you do? Like, how would you solve this gap that currently exists in our state?
So I play Powerball every single week, and I'm not even kidding. My husband was a firefighter in Laughlin, so that was his job every week, is to make sure he hit the 7-Eleven and get that ticket for me, because I have this pipe dream of creating a concept that I thought of through, bringing experience together. One of my superpowers is I'm very curious and I love connecting people. And as I learned and met different people in this market, worked with working adult students, worked with more traditional college age or high school students, I learned, I'm like, all they need is a little bit of a pathway to get out of where they are and excel and elevate themselves. So what I would do is create what I call the bridge counselor. And that would be 4 or 5 per high school that work with a caseload of students starting their junior year and sit down with them. And this is very elementary, but hey, Johnny, are you interested in going to college? Do you want to go to community college? Do you want to go to the military? What do you think about trade school? Or do you want to just get a job? Like, what are your ideas? What do you think you want to do? And I would work with, or that bridge counselor would have their, 100 students, whatever, and create groups where those students can learn, get exposed to the things that they're interested in. Maybe they say, hey, I want to go to the military. And then we bring in recruiters and they're like, whoa, no way. Yeah. I really do want to be, maybe it's a welder. Okay, let's bring in some of the trade schools and have you meet with them. And the second thing I would add to this role is interaction with the parents or the support system, whoever it is. We know no family is identical, right? So it might be mom, dad, stepmom. It might be grandma. It could be a caseworker. We never know, but at least educate that student's ecosystem so that everybody knows what's going to happen. And the other school group that I worked with, we worked with high school age students and we bridged that gap to college for them. And one of the things that we did is it was almost like dual enrollment before dual enrollment existed. We had them taking classes with us in their senior year of high school because in the early 2000s, we cut a lot of those electives. So they didn't get art classes, they didn't get computer classes. And what we realized is we would do a 12-week course with these high school students on Saturdays. And at the end, we would bring their families in for a portfolio show or a gallery show or something where the parent came in and saw what we taught their student. And I can't tell you the relationships I saw strengthen and build in families because parents understood now why their kid doodled in their room and drew characters. But then he comes to this school and all of a sudden he has graphic design skills. And we could translate those hobbies and ideas into this is what their job looks like. So bridge counselor concept.
Can I just say,
yes.
Okay, for everybody listening, Lauri Perdue wants to win the lottery
yes.
to start bridge counseling.
Yes.
Most people are trying to win the lottery to get that second home, that beach home. I would like a beach home too, but yes,
we can
bridge
do both.
counseling first.
Yes.
That sounds wonderful.
Yes.
Only here would you get somebody who wants to use their winnings to support the community.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting you.
No, please.
I got stuck on that component, but I love this idea of the mentorship that can come inside of school environments that help people explore different opportunities. Because sometimes it's just about the lack of knowledge, the lack of access, and the lack of opportunity. And you hit all of those with the solution. And you're doing in this like 2-generation approach, not just the young person, but their ecosystem around them, because often it needs to be both. I just love that so much. And there's examples of this happening, but it's small scale.
Yeah.
You have the like fulfillment fund doing things like this. You have leaders in training doing things like this. You have some of this happening in schools and CCSD, but it's just not to the degree that you're talking about, which is in depth. Having like 5 people at a single school site with those cohorts, that's really the deep level of support that young people need in today's day and age. And they're just not getting it.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I'll give you one example of where this idea came from. I had 2 kids graduating high school the same year. One went to a CTE school. One went to one of our traditional high schools. So the CTE school student had 140 students in his class, graduating class. And so we were close, like it was a tight-knit group. And of course, my higher ed brain is like, so Brandon, what's that? Oh, I know what it was. We sat at graduation, and before graduation started, their pictures went along the screen, and it said, Susie Jones is going to UNLV. She got this much scholarship money, okay? And so I'm watching this because we're sitting there forever, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting. And I made a phone call to the counselor after, and I said, hey, how much scholarship money did your group get? I know the principal talked about it, but like, do you have any stats on who's really going to college, how much scholarship money they got? And that group of 140 kids had $7 million worth of scholarship and Pell Grant money to use, okay? My traditional high school kid, go to her graduation, and that school, the senior class was triple. I want to say it was like 385, 400 students. They had 3.2 million, okay? More of this, percentage-wise, were going to college versus the 140 who had many more resources. They didn't understand how to use them. So I started telling my son, I'm like, we should have a graduation party, bring him over, and Lauri's going to interview everybody and go, what are you doing next? What are you doing next? And it led to like
the Lauri mentorship service is alive and well wherever you go.
Yes, I just need to scale it with the lottery. Yeah. I need to scale it with the lottery. But it was, all I had to do is educate them on, again, go back to my gal who had 2 fast food jobs. You're going to get a Pell Grant. You can go to CSN or UNLV and get in their nursing program and have 1 job, and your school is paid for. But they don't understand how to do it. Parents don't understand it. And we talk about our workforce pipeline. Until we educate these people, our workforce pipeline is going to stay the same. And that's where K through 12, this younger student, sometimes I hear stories from different groups. They're like, hey, we want to bring, industrial manufacturing information to 3rd graders. Yes, that's great. Expose them to different things, right? Give them different ways to learn. But if we could just put resources in front of them to understand how am I getting from high school to real life? And what do I want that to look like? And what are my choices? Because oftentimes I think a lot of students in our area just don't think they have choices.
There's this example that I learned about last year in Arizona. I think it's ASU that does this. They work with school districts across the state, and they will send every student in Arizona a letter. I think it's their sophomore or junior year. Don't quote me on this, but something like this is happening. And they will tell the students, you are eligible, you're on track, or you're not on track to be college eligible.
Oh.
This is why, based off of what we're seeing on your transcripts. This is what you need to do to get on that college pathway. And this is how much financial aid you're going to get if you end up going to a school in Arizona.
Wow.
And it's like so much in in a few years, it's increased the number of students who are applying and ready because they just have access to the knowledge. Now I'm thinking, take that to Nevada. First of all, we can get things done here, and we have gotten things done here. But imagine that every student in the Clark County School District or statewide gets a charter schools, private schools. They get a letter their sophomore year of high school that says, here are the universities. It's from UNLV, it's from CSN, it's from University of Phoenix, and it's from military. It's from a few workforce needs that we can identify in the community as examples of what they can do straight out of college. Here's where you're on track. Here's where you're not on track. Here's how you can get back into the system. And I mean, this seems like something we can do next year.
Yes.
And then, but imagine pairing that with bridge counseling. Because the information will be good on paper. It'll really come to life when you have a human leading you through the process.
Yep.
And so, sorry, I just got so excited when you started talking about the solution because other states are proving it's possible. And if we can get things done here, it's possible here. And we can get things done here with all those new leaders that you talked about.
Yes, absolutely. And do you remember the days where high school students had to pass the proficiencies?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was then, 7 years ago.
Yeah, and then it got repealed. So then they didn't have to. I can't tell you how many students that I worked with that didn't, I'm sure they should have known, right? But they would get to graduating high school and I would be calling them saying, hey, we need your diploma, we need your transcript. And I'm like, oh, I got to call this one, tell them they didn't really graduate.
Because they didn't pass the proficiency. Yes.
Right. And I mean, I did that all the time. And we had learned, who were the resources, who do we send them to? But it was very reactionary. Now this poor young person is like, hopes are dashed, dreams are dashed, parents are pissed. And so finally it gets repealed. Now that doesn't happen. Well, did we go back to those 2,000 kids each year? I don't know how many there were each year, but did we go back and send them a letter that said, hey, here is what you need to do to get your high school diploma ready to roll? Because I still, 4 years later, ran into the same problem.
Wow.
And imagine what that mental set or mindset is for that student. So there's just little things that we can do to be more engaged, meet the students where they are, and be more effective with our emerging talent.
You're here to hear. Lauri has all the solutions. We've got it figured out. But I agree with you. There's simple things that we can do that would greatly transform outcomes for everybody in this state. And if we can identify those solutions and become, I love this term, solution engineers, just engineer this ecosystem to really benefit the people, benefit our neighbors, benefit our kids. And so I think that you have some of those solutions here. And with this new crop of leaders, from workforce to education, if we can bring them all together, which we can, Nevada's very small.
Yes.
What does Heather Brown say? It's like 2 million people, I know all 50 of them.
Yes.
Is that her statement? I think we know all 50 of them. We can get them together and actually coordinate what the solutions might look like. We can create a system like the University of Phoenix has created where we can track skills for young people. We can have portfolios in classrooms that go from K-12 to higher ed. We can make sure that they get that letter in the mail that comes from a consortium of higher ed partners and workforce partners. We can make sure that the skills that they're getting from UNLV to the University of Phoenix actually are relevant to the jobs that they have. Because I also can imagine there's so many people who graduate with a degree and they're like, what do I do with this degree? I don't know what job it gets me because it's not necessarily, at least we haven't taken the time to align them to those skills in the workforce. So it's just, we will move at the speed of trust and we will move at the speed of this community working alongside one another. And the good news is we can.
Yeah. And we have, to your point, we have this new crop of leaders who are eager and anxious to make a positive impact. And I happened to sit down with our new chancellor and I shared the bridge counselor idea and he's like, oh my gosh, I got to run with this. I'm like, please do. Here it is. I'll keep playing the lottery just in case, but run with it. And it just, I tell everybody that story I can. But interestingly, Irene Bustamante Adams, who is the school board president chair, she called me yesterday with LVGEA and just talking about the synergies in our small, big city. She's like, hey, we need to get our new superintendent connected with the employers. I'm like, yes, we do. So we're inviting Joan to LVGEA meetings so that she can be part of the dialogue and trying to find pathways to connect those employers to the school district. And again, just a simple example, imagine if we could bring in Ivan Faraz from Wells Fargo, and he could go into an economics class or a senior government class and just say, hey, I'm going to show you guys with the skills that you've learned in high school so far, these are all the jobs that you are qualified to do at Wells Fargo today. I don't necessarily have to go work on the strip like my uncle and dad and sister did.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have to think I don't have choices, because we're building this transparency or building this translation between what they're learning and what they are already ready and qualified to do.
I love that. It's a translation service. Like,
Yeah.
it already exists, but we just need to bridge.
Yeah.
It all comes back to this bridging
bridge.
idea. But I think you're right. Like, we have Irene Bustamante Adams, this amazing leader who sits, she's like a former assemblywoman. She's the chair of the school board. She does workforce connections. Like,
Yep.
she's in all these spaces. We have the new superintendent, Joni Burt, who is like dedicated to this community and making this work better. I mean, she was a teacher here for so many years, was the state superintendent, came back and is leading our community. We have Superintendent Wakefield at the state level. I just had a conversation with him. He wants to make career pathways and workforce readiness a key part of his mission as the state leader. So you have all these people ready. Chancellor
McNair, yep, Matt.
He's ready to do it. Like, everybody's ready and hungry for it. So I feel like this is the time. Let's do it. But one thing that we fought over the last few years, maybe it's just my experience, is this perception battle.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, we have some really good things happening in education and the potential for so much more. And I feel like sometimes we get caught in the magnetism of the present challenges, and we're really stuck to it. And part of that might be this perception problem that we've talked about a little bit. What does that look like for you? Like, how have you seen the perception of our education system play out? And what does it mean to you to just get out of the same loop that we've been in?
So I have two perspectives on that. The Lauri Perdue was a student of the Clark County School District perspective. And then I have the LVGEA workforce loses us deals for new companies coming here. And so I'll start with the LVGEA piece. So we've done deep dives year after year of like, what are our challenges? Why don't people come to Nevada? Or why are companies not choosing us?
And for those listening that don't know what LVGA does, one of the things you do is attract companies to our market. So you're growing our economy by helping companies relocate here.
Yes.
But you're figuring out why they don't sometimes.
Yeah, so if it's a bottling company, we're not a good state for them because we don't have unlimited water supply, right?
Yeah.
So there's some filters we go through that we determine whether they're good for us and we're good for them. But workforce always comes up, because what do we talk about on a national scale about Nevada? Oh, we're last in XYZ ranking. We're second to last in XYZ ranking. And we don't take the time to talk about what's going well. So about 2 years ago, we hired a couple consultants, and we had them go through, dig into what is really happening, not just in the school district, but the charter schools, the CTE schools, give us a bigger scope of the picture of what's here. We found that our charter schools were in like the top 30% of the country. They were operating at a very high level. Their outcomes were amazing. Our school district ranking had so many little facets to it that made it look bad, but our outcomes weren't bad. One of the things, and this is more your wheelhouse than mine, but the amount of funding we gave per pupil was dragging our number down. And we pulled those numbers out, and we would have been in the 30s or the low 20s if we didn't have that in there. So is that indicative of whether we have a good school system or not?
That's a great question. I had this conversation with an acquaintance at the time who was like, oh, I just had a kid. I need to move. I'm like, I don't want to send my kid to school here. And I just asked, with genuine curiosity, where are you moving? And they're like, oh, we're looking at LA. Oh. And I was like, okay, but like, where in LA? There's many school districts in LA. They wanted to live in downtown LA. And it's just really interesting to me that the perception of LA and their school district is higher than the perception of the Clark County School District.
Yeah.
When the results were actually similar, or in many cases, CCSD was outperforming LA Unified School District. And so it is just what angle sometimes we're looking at things from, and what is the data telling us. So this is where I get caught in the perception problem. I'm also the type of person that's like, I'm not here to put lipstick on a pig. Not that I would ever, that's probably a bad phrase to use, but I'm not saying just like say it's good.
Yeah.
I actually do want to improve it. We've talked about solutions right during this conversation to to improve bridge counseling, to get workforce readiness, to get these groups of people together to improve our education system. But we can't also sit here and deny that there are some really great things happening when there are.
Mm-hmm. And so we did this project and looked and found great talking points. And I asked, we have a consultant that we're working with that is an expert economic developer with a long list of successes in his career, turned consultant. And I happened to be on the phone with him the other day, and I asked him, I said, we have workforce issues perceived. We have healthcare issues. Those are the two biggest things that we say lose us the opportunity to work with companies for our city. And he said, every single city has flaws. Every single city has challenges they have to overcome. Yours are no bigger or different than anyone else. And he's been doing this job for 50 years around the country. And I think we do a big disservice when we continue to talk poorly about our school district. We highlight how bad we are in the rankings, what the outcomes are. What we're not talking about is the 3 young men I met last year that went to ATech. They had one particular teacher in common. One of them got a full ride to Harvard, one of them got a full ride to Berkeley, and one of them got a full ride to MIT. And they have expanded a high school project that they did in high school where they're building a CRM system that tracks bill progress and all of the ecosystem around legislative bills so that if you and I need to go to Carson City, we can go into their CRM and say, okay, who are the players? What are their positions? What's moving the needle? What's gotten stuck? And they called me one day and they said, hey, would you meet with me and my 3 friends? And they're all in their bedrooms in July working on the CRM project and pitching it to C-suite level people, not me, but others. And I'm looking at this going, first of all, my kids suck because you guys are like killing it. And second of all, I'm like, who says Clark County School District sucks? These are 3 immigrant students that don't have great, stable homes, but they had one thing in common, a teacher who totally invested in them and has changed the course of their life. One person.
That is amazing. And that's like an example of real world learning and application of that real world learning. Going back to skills, I bet those kids are developing so many transferable skills from their high school experience. Obviously, they're going to amazing institutions. But yeah, we have amazing things happening here, and the story is just not getting told.
Right.
And so when people are like, I think one of the things I say at CFL is one of our goals is that 5-10 years from now, when people Google or more likely use ChatGPT or Gemini to research Nevada's education and they just type in education in Nevada, if you do it right now, it literally says Nevada is perceived as having a lowly ranked education system. It's the first thing that pops up.
Yeah.
I want that to change because that is not the reality when you look at some of the data. And even if it is the reality today, I don't want them to be the reality in 5-10 years from now. We've failed if that is still what people see when they Google or Gemini, Las Vegas and Nevada.
Okay, so Sean, I'm going to take that one level deeper. So my work was serving our kids. So we're a nonprofit in town, and there are over 100,000 food insecure children in Clark County. Okay, so think about that. Our school district's what, 350,000. So 1 in 4, okay? If you don't have food, you cannot learn well, period.
Yes.
And we are not able to solve 100,000. You've got 3 Square doing a program. We're doing a program. We work together to be as efficient, as effective as we can. But we bridge that gap for students who are relying on school meals for food. So that Monday through Friday, their food is from school. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they don't have resources. So we provide weekend meal bags for them. And the deal is, our slogan is we want to feed their dreams. If you are a young person that doesn't know what you're eating over the weekend, are you playing? Are you focused at school? Are you outside dreaming of being an astronaut? No. You're like, where's my next meal coming from? So our goal is we want kids to be kids. And we wanted, whatever the circumstances are, we want to bridge that gap again over the weekend. And so we talk a lot with the counselors and the principals. So as the board chair, I'll make phone calls, what are we doing well? What's not landing? And just to thank them for, facilitating our program in their school. And I'll tell you, I learned the most interesting things from these people. And one of them I met was a principal who is retired, came here from Long Beach Unified School District, retired, kept watching the news and said, dang, they need my help. Came back as an assistant principal, and told me what he does at school, told me these stories of how this meal bag impacts his students. And as I'm talking to him, I thought about it and I said, I'm really sorry because every time you watch the news here, we tell you you suck.
Yeah.
And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, imagine we've got 350,000 kids that we're sending to school every day under the old Peanuts pig pen cloud saying, hey, you go to a school district that sucks. Have a great day.
And it's not just, oh my gosh, how demoralizing is that?
And what about being a teacher?
A teacher, exactly.
What about being a teacher? And we're telling you your product sucks every day. Terrible.
And then what about being a student?
Yes.
The students. We worked with 13 high school age students over the summer. And I talked to them about this. They don't like the perception of the Clark County School District because it makes them feel less than.
Yeah.
And these are brilliant, capable, amazing students, that just like the ones you were describing. Mm-hmm. And I talked to so many graduates of CCSD, and they're like, "Wait, I had to get a. I'm fine. Like, I'm great. I'm not less than because I graduated from this school district."
Yep.
But that is the story that we're wrapping around our whole community, and it is demoralizing. I think like sometimes there's like inside family conversations. Like if you have a issue with my brother or with my mom or dad, I have a small family. Like I know that's the inside family conversation.
Yes.
We're not talking about that outside.
Right.
But somehow our inside family conversation about fixing our schools or improving our schools has become the community conversation. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden there's this cloud over us where all we're talking about is the cloud.
Yeah.
And all we see is the cloud, and we can't see the sun behind there because we've put that there ourselves. And so I wonder, what would it be like if we did two things at the same time? If we walked and chewed gum, if we worked on improving the school system, making sure every kid has that meal, making sure that every teacher has the curriculum they need to thrive, making sure every classroom has a certified teacher in there, there's no teacher shortages, and making sure that there's skills alignment, that there's project-based learning, that the competencies are being told, that there's the bridge.
Yeah.
And we tell the story about the positive things that are happening in this community. I think we can do both of those things at the same time so that we don't make our young people, our teachers, our educators, our workforce feel like less than.
Yeah. And are we creating our own problem? That's the other thing I wonder is what is the motive, right? There's always a motive for what stories we tell and why we talk about it the way it is. Is it to influence legislation? Is it to put pressure on where we think we need funding? I don't know. That's beyond my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But we're shooting ourselves in our own foot. And there are way too many success stories of what comes out of our school district that we're not doing ourselves any service. And I oftentimes get called into what we call a fam tour, where we bring these companies or representatives from these companies who are looking at Nevada to move their companies here to a dinner where we socialize and we talk about some of these things. And people will ask me like, well, what about the school district? And would I have to send my kid to private school? And I said, no. I'm like, be involved in your child's education. That's the answer. I don't care what school you go to. If you have parental involvement and the family is driving that student to do good things in school and keeping them between the white lines and not letting them fail, communicating with the school, I don't think it matters what doors they walk in.
Yeah. I just think it's so important. I mean, and we can cut this if we need to, but like our podcast tech here, Gabe, is a product of the Clark County School District, went to Green Valley High School, got this skill either in high school or college of doing these podcasts, and now has an amazing job here. So it's like there are success stories literally every time I am meeting somebody new. There's a success story to be told, and we're just not telling those stories. Beyond workforce metrics, beyond all these things that we've talked about, what does success look like to you when it comes to helping people and communities thrive?
I would like to stop hearing about the same problem over and over and over again. I would like to see our emerging talent, so our K through 12 students, have a confidence, no matter where they are in the process, have a confidence and a stability that they know they can learn and they know there's a future for them. And that sounds very idealistic or utopian, but I just think that we're not building a foundation for them where they know I'm going to move forward and be successful. The world is my oyster, and it really truly is. But we've got to be able to, crosswalk that for them so that they know they have options. So I would say building confidence with our emerging talent. And there's, we could do a whole brainstorming session and fill up 6 whiteboards with that right now of what that means. And then as we build that emerging talent and see growth and transition there, quality of life gets better for Southern Nevada and Nevada as a whole. And meaning healthcare thrives, workforce and higher wage jobs come here. We continue to market Southern Nevada as a place for families. It really, really is. And LVGEA and the city's economic development agencies and the state, they're doing a great job of that. But we have those 2 hurdles of healthcare and workforce that we have to get over that problem, and we've got to find a way to describe it in real life. If we were that bad, would we have a thriving city? No. The garbage gets picked up, the mail gets delivered, we have a hospital to go to. Yep, specialists are hard to find. We need to solve for that. But our kids have schools to go to, they have buses to ride on and streets, and there's cones, and we are a thriving city. We've got to stop thinking that we don't have something to offer.
I think that this is we talked about ecosystem a lot, but if you look at the animal kingdom or ecosystems in the community, there's oftentimes these the theory about an anchor species where you lose one, like the wolves and Yellowstone, I think. You lose one and it deteriorates the ecosystem, but it's still beautiful. Yellowstone was never bad. It's just not quite where it needs to be. And I think that often, obviously I'm biased, but I think the education system is one of those keystone species in our ecosystem, workforce connections, the development, and then the other, healthcare is the other one that we keep talking about. But those are the 2 missing keystone species. But it's not like we don't have solutions. We have them. We just have to implement them. So how do we find those keystone solutions to fix our keystone species problems? And the answers are often right here in our community. As you're saying, let's let our young people thrive. Let's make them find or develop a community where they have a strong quality of life. Because at the end of the day, isn't that what we all want? Yeah. I want to have a good quality of life. Yeah. I want my neighbors to be thriving. I want us to be thriving. I want safe neighborhoods. I want access to culture. I want good health care. I want a great quality of life. And so I think we can do that together. I love the positivity and the solutions that you bring, Lauri. If
I leave this earth someday, I just hope our community is, and I've had some way to make an impact on being a connector. So oftentimes I'll sit at an LVGEA thing or get invited to maybe somebody's company's event, and I see them doing community service work on a looped video or something. And then I'm like, hey, you need to come do some of that at Serving Our Kids. Or I meet somebody at a charity golf tournament, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we don't have anybody in this industry on the LVGEA. And I just think if we can continue to spread that type of engagement, educate each other, we can create some of these solutions. And again, going back to one of your original questions, we have the right people in the right places right now with refreshed energy, new perspectives, a new toolkit that they bring to Southern Nevada that we haven't had. And now is our time to really thrive. But it does take all of us to make it happen. And that is, the employers, the nonprofits, the government, everybody's got to come to the table. The great thing is all of these new leaders have that mindset that they're ready to make a difference. I
love that. Our mics are stuck here, so there's no mic drop moment, but I feel like that was the one, so we can end there. But Lauri, as we wrap up, where can people learn more about your work or connect with you if they need that mentorship opportunity? What does it look like to be in touch or learn more about Lauri Perdue?
LinkedIn is always easy, right? Just remember my name is Lauri, no E, my mom, and I'm Purdue Chicken, not Purdue the University, so Perdue. But no, LinkedIn's always easy. Serving Our Kids, please look it up, check it out. Happy to invite anybody to come do a bagging with us and see what we're all about. Our goal is to grow and eradicate food insecurity. Imagine that, right? If those 100,000 kids didn't have that problem, what could their lives be like? But I'm not hard to find, I don't think.
You're everywhere.
Yes.
And if you're out there and across state borders, get her a lottery ticket.
Yes.
Because we need that bridge funding. We need that funding for the bridge counseling program today.
Yes.
Lauri, thank you so much for being here and for all you're doing for our community.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to the CFL podcast, where possibility is at work. Here, we explore what it means to empower learners, connect communities, create impact, and help Nevada thrive. Each episode shares stories and ideas from the people reimagining what learning can look like in our community and beyond. Because when we learn, build, and dream together, anything is possible.